So we are back. Welcome back to another session. As I promised, I tried my best to get some time and empty some of my schedule for us to have this session and trying to have them one after the other because this is daily. I recorded the past session yesterday and this is the day after that recording because the previous one, thankfully, everything went smoothly. So I just compiled the footage with the audio and I just uploaded them. And I don't think the next one will be so soon. The next session, I think it will take some time. I'm planning to do it like once or twice, maybe thrice per week, 3 times per week. I think it is good because I need a little bit of me time to work on some stuff that I don't want to put out there. But this session is just something to socialize and something to put out there for other people. Maybe some people need to have some sort of frame of reference to see how someone walk down some path and fail miserably so they can avoid what he have done. Uh, I have did a little bit of warm up before starting this because I didn't have the time to do it before. But I have this small reference thing that I got, I think yesterday or the day before. I got this reference thing, stuff that I got here. I got in front of me on the other screen the actual logs, which I have two of them. I have some of them that I record audios and then I transcribe them into text. And the text is not a literal transcription, it is me just taking the bullet points. And the audios, I just save them in case I want to, like, within the video, I want to, like, reference myself and I want to say something like, in back at that time or back in real time, I was thinking, and I insert what I was saying back in the day because this is something that happens quite a lot when you get good at something, be it like programming or music, which are our topics that we're gonna discuss here. You tend to look at it as something that is very basic, very banal, if you will. But back in the day when you were just learning it, something like, I don't know, right now, something that I just practiced today was drum loops. I was learning how to make those and how to make them good because I know everything about like making the drum sounds and synthesizing them a bit. Like some of that sound design, I already know about that. I just need to keep practicing to reach that level of perfection that I can make literally every sound I want to, but I don't know how to write yet, which is like the composing side of thing. So within like 2 months, I know that if I keep going like this, I will get good. And if I look back at myself, I will say just like whatever it is, whatever it was nothing. But if you're watching and you're learning and you see me talking about it like it is nothing, you might get discouraged and shit like that. So yeah, going back to our board right here, I have some stuff. I don't think it will help us at all, but this is something that I wrote about the structure for both the learning programming logs and learning music logs. So this is from the learning programming one. I think both of them like the same thing. Maybe I should do this because there's a lot of personal stuff out here in the first screen. But if I do this, hopefully there isn't any private information here. But we have this, the structure. At the end, why are we starting with at the end? At the end, the devlogs need to make a decent vlog showcasing my journey trying to learn how to make games. I'm thinking, I'm thinking to breaking it episodes. A lot of grammar error. I'm thinking of breaking it to episodes of the same in the same video. Each focuses on a month of learning. I already exceeded a month and I have not produced nothing, but still it is good. And a single or two main lessons that were learned. I record a log, which is an audio log. When I have something to say, those will be transcribed, like I said before, extraction only the interesting parts or lessons that were learned, then stored in case I want to use them in transitions or way that I show how I felt at the moment. When talking, retro, And retrospectively, I think what this autocorrection was, when talking retrospectively about it in the final edit. This is a long-term project, so everything needs to be tidy and organized, all of the resources saved and linked to where they were mentioned, timestamps and videos and audios, links for sites and so on. Good luck and a salute for a soldier because this is the work of an absolute soldier. I hope I screenshotted everything here because I was reading from the screen above, but this was the thing. And especially the part when I mentioned, let's bring this back. Especially the part when I talked about what it is a long-term project, because long-term projects have a bit of a different way of managing them than short-term ones, which are pretty quick. And usually, if you want to do what I am planning to do, which is what I'm still learning, games, animation, and many other things. Long term planning for projects is a must learn skill because it is a skill that you hone with practice over and over again until you get good at it. So, ikimasho, as the Japanese will say, and because I was reading Yotsuba earlier, pretty cool manga. I really love the facial expressions there. Pretty moe and cute at the same time, not moe and weird like the new. Forget about it. We do not need to get into that much. The thing or the main topic. I said topic. 今日のテーマは direction or art direction or conceptualizing how well the thing looks because I'm thinking of episodes right now and I'm thinking something like this because I don't want it to be like this is like we're gonna be doing conceptualizing for both the the vlogs for the development, as in I'm learning programming, not necessarily game design because programming, as in coding, as in doing the beeps and boops and writing those lines, is not the same as designing a game loop. Those are two different, completely different things. So I'm gonna talk about programming. I'm talking about how does the language work? How does the hardware connect with the software? How do they communicate with each other? How am I suffering being grinded in the middle of those two things? Same thing goes with music. How am I learning to open my ears for the first time? And when I listen to music, I hear all of those layers of the instruments there. I hear even the effects that were used on those instruments. I still do not hear the notes that were played on each or using each instrument. I still cannot say that this octave high, octave low, major, minor thing, that wizardry BS, I still cannot know that. But just how do I convey that to you? Which is this type of like, I don't know what to call it, concept art, but it is more than that because we're trying to convey ideas. So this is one of the looks. But again, these are illustrations, and what we're doing is where is my pen? This is my pen. Korewa pen this. This is my pen. So what we have is a timeline like this, and we might have sections, like I said before, and when I was reading that, we might split it into like chapters. So we have like 4 chapters. Each one is a week. But within those, we have like let's say four. The it's like the yonkoma, stuff, which is like the kishu tenketsu, way of progress or way of storytelling. So if we want to do that, uh, doing it all with something that looks like this will be weird. But having a shot like this, which will be 3.5 seconds max, I think we need a bit more than that, and we need to and to have more, we need to do something that is basically like how a you get a zip file somewhere on the internet, and you unzip this zip file, and within this unzipped zip file, you find a bunch of stuff. You find normal files. You find maybe some sort of images, you find maybe some videos, and you might find some other zip files. And you unzip the zip files and you find some other stuff in there, and you keep unzipping them and so on. These are the influences, these are the themes, the art style, the kind of what are we trying to convey, what is the medium, and so on. And those things are like more compressed zip files. I'm sorry if it sounds weird because I'm taking this from a course that I'm writing or like a tutorial to show you how to you can do concept art easily without like frying your two brain cells. But keeping and zipping and keep going deeper, it will give you a more understanding for what you're trying to do. So yeah, this is what I'm trying to do here with all of these references to try and find something that will work well for me. One of the ideas that I got is something like this, which is like pretty generic, using the iconography related to music and sound uh, to convey or use as something. So the first thing that we have is how do I present that? Do I want to do it like I don't want to do it like to be honest, like normal animations where they have this and they have like their quirky character with their mouth open, they're bug-eyed, and they are talking about something, and you have like whatever it is that there's behind them, like I don't know, FL Studio is open right here, and you have like the tracks, you have like the mixing over here, and you have like the instruments and stuff of that sort. And most of them try to open so many windows right here for all of the instruments and effects to make it seem like they are very cool because they're unorganized, but they look cool for the uninitiated. So this is not something that I want to do. What I want to do is something more like anime, something with more direction in it, with more storyboarding and stuff. So when I was thinking about that, I could not necessarily find a a clean way of doing it. There was no frame of reference, and all of the direction stuff that I have is something that is grounded, and all of the rest were maybe at most was something like this. It is cool. It is cool. It is clean, but it is pretty abstract. But this also is something that is pretty like it. This is cool for like programming. Maybe I will make my character to be like this. I think this is Hatsune Miku that looks like this. Maybe if we're programming, we'll make something like that. For example, the avatar that I'm using is like this with like the big glasses. I have like this bandana thing on my head, exactly like I was wearing before I start recording because I closed the door and it is pretty hot in here. So yeah, the sacrifices that I make for these sessions. So this is the character. So how can we do do anything with it? And think about this being animated, by the way, because it is a very important thing for things to move, not to have just something that is pretty limited. So maybe we'll have like zeros over here, maybe null marks, and maybe this is a minus, or we just copy the reference, have something like this. They have like the equation over here, so maybe if I just copy like the delta time with I don't think this will work for me unless I give it some more tasks, but it is something uh, worthwhile. But in this is a very important but over here. The way that I was thinking about it is in the beginning was and I'm trying to like vocalize what I'm thinking in case anyone wanna learn, I guess, was this is the frame and everything will be black. And when I display something, when I'm talking about, you hear the flute because the direction for that one, for learning music specifically, I want it to be very sonic, very audible, very like oh, so much texture within like the sound. I don't want it to be just vapid or generic or just my voice. I want there to be an actual space that we inhabit in there. So maybe will have a black scene. So all of this will be filled with black. And when I mention an instrument, you will see the instrument pop up there. For example, let's say that there is a saxophone that pops off right there. And this will either like be the color yellow for like the brass instruments, or it will be just pure white and with some bloom obviously, or glow, depending on how you call it. So these were the thing. But again, when I think about it, we're going back to that small YouTuber animation thing. So this is not it. So I was thinking to myself again, this is where I started going a bit crazy, because one of the things that I had, for example, for the previous one, which is like uh, the game, not the game dev, but learning to program one, was something that was abstract. Like this is a shot of me standing here, and with that like diversion from where I stand, something similar to what you see and stuff like this. It is something like that where you have a bunch of paths like that, but it is what is, if I have another reference for it, things like these, those uh, train or metro or buses, depending on what it is. But I don't think I have another reference for something like that. But here it is, another one. So it is something like this with like very vibrant colors, and we are in a white space over here. And there is a reason for why white space, other than uh, being cool, and because it shows like everything that is empty, and it shows the color popping off. And the next one after this is, I think I was explaining like the first time doing something of like how gargantuan the thing that I'm trying to take, the task or the challenge that I'm taking. So the next one was something like this, without me in here obviously, is something like this. These things are obviously all leading to this one right here, and this one I have this thing that is going upwards, collecting all of the data, with the ground being simple, but above have all of these things going on, like very jaggedy, funky ass type of design. And on the ground and even up this hill, I want to use Blender for it. Why I want to use it is because of geometry nodes. And if I use geometry nodes, it will be easier for me to generate those and control it on the fly and be able to generate textures for it. These will not be textures, they will be actual meshes or splines. I don't need to explain that if you don't understand how that shit works. But there will be splines, and they will be modifiable on the fly if I want to. And if I want to have so many shots within this kind of space area dimension thing that we have over here. So this is pretty understandable. It is pretty easy to do so. Maybe also we can move on from this to maybe moving like this, where you have a shot of me, for example, right here, and this will be actually like something a bit more realistic version of me, maybe like the one that I used to do with a bit more of a beard. And maybe I change the way that I'm wearing this. It is just a scarf. It is a scarf from my late grandma. Something that I remember her by. So wearing it in different ways, in different situations, showing the passage of time and so on, and even describing the mood. Because if I wear it something like this, like I don't know what you call it, like a turban, for example, on top of my head, we call it here in Morocco, we call it razza. So if we wear it like this, it is like pretty hot, something like what we have in like southern region. In matter of fact, I learned how to do this from an older man that I used to work with. He's from like down south. So we have this, and we have like the normal one that is just like this, like you wear in an actual bandana and you just tie in it like that, and you have like something that is pretty thin like this, and you have the hair above, and something like peeking from here, which is like a virtual fighter thing. If anyone watched that anime or played the games, so we have these visual differences that we can play with, in addition to playing with the shaders in the way that we show off there. Because here, as we have it, we have the color white. But in some shots like this, will have like a pretty stained, pretty yellowish shots. And I will be, as I said, within here, and we have like this that will be like circuits, because I think they had something like this for like disks or CPU. Like those small chips, micro stuff that we have in the CPU, they used to have them actually being like this big. So maybe I am like this, and behind them creating some sort of parallax. And the actual space that I occupy is, imagine it like a server room with all of this stuff going on here, and I am obviously over here. Maybe the camera is over here, but because the FOV is low, the field of vision, or this is in games we call it the FOV, but within the softwares you might call it something like either the angle or what, the lens, yeah, the lens, either angle or lens depending on what it is. This, the higher that it goes, the more fisheye it gets. This, the lower it goes, the more fisheye it gets. So if we flatten it, I think it creates like a very nice distinguished parallax effect. So this, I don't think there is that much weirdness into it in terms of like these shots, because I saw this, if any one of you actually got that kind of arch book of how that One Piece OVA called Fan Mail was made, you will see two things that were cool, quite great to see. One, that they actually use the me character creator to make their initial uh, character designs. So, for example, something like this will turn to the character like the older brother from the Marines. The other thing is the way that they structured all of the events. I'm not comparing myself to them because they obviously know what the fuck they were doing. They use, I think, Milano or something like that. It is an app or a note-taking app. So they had like the timeline, something like this, and there were like some notes like that going on all over, and these were like color coded. Each one of them had like a different color going on. So the other thing that I saw also there was that they had something like this also. It was like multiple timelines, and if you watch that small OVA, which I really recommend you do, you will see that there are different timelines. So, for example, the young gingerhead, the Nami fan, you see her, you see like the older brother and his younger one, and you see like that their boss, which is a fan of Chopper, and I think those are all. Maybe you will see some of the characters of the Straw Hats, and you see that like bad guy that looks like a German Russian guy that always looks like a bad guy, but you see all of these. But what they did is just, for example, you go from here to here, and then you jump to this one, and you insert this one here, then it's followed by this one, then you continue back here, and then you insert bit from here, or something like that. I think I messed this up because they're supposed to be chronological order. Yeah, this is how it works. So for example, you start here. Imagine it like a gameplay situation where player A, player B, player C, each one of them is going through their gameplay. Think of it like you watching your favorite streamers play in a game, and you're watching just the highlights. And the editor keep jumping from this point. Uh, we're going chronologically to not this one. This is A, so we're jumping from this point right here to this point where C was going to this point right here, and all of them converge in this area. Then this one gets lost, so we only have these two guys. Then we have only these two. Then we have only one of them. Then we have them all. Then we have them all separated, so we only have this and this. And if we keep going, we'll finish either with the one that we started with, or the last one that we ever saw. So something like that. We have like timelines of everything going forward, and we keep getting like transitioning between them and kind of converging them and so on. This sounds pretty complicated, but I really like the idea of having each segment made uh, individually. and then we mix them together. But how do you apply this to what I'm doing is the question, because I am learning. So we have the fact that I am learning. So that is cool. But there is the point of the lessons that I learned, and there is the challenges that I had. So what we can do is something like maybe having just two timelines of one of me just pure uh, struggling, and one of me like talking like retrospective, retrospectively, retrospectively talking about what I was doing, and we cut back. This might utilize something like the stuff that I was talking about with the old audios, uh, looking back at them, but I think it will be weird to write this like this, and it will not have like I don't want to say like that dirty world that is attention. I fucking hate that, but it will not keep your interest. Uh, so yeah, but still we have a problem with the visuals, because how do I present this or how do I present that? If we're talking about something like the programming, we can talk about this like two timelines, like that area where I show things that I'm looking at from the front and how big and complex and all of the lines going up right there, like this. And then from this one we show how everything is just flat. It is just one continuous line going from up till below. Maybe it is more than a line, but it is just a there is a point of singularity where all of them meet and then they branch. And this is at the end. This is at the end. This is retrospective. This is retrospective look, and this is we just began. We just began. So there are the two views. We can have something like this, and with this one, we obviously this is would be like the end. Obviously, the end of the series will look like this. But with this one, we can cut from this. Like we start the timeline with this thing, me describing how difficult everything is, and to understand it. For example, this is like what I'm gonna say. To understand it, it seems like I needed to go even deeper than I ever thought that I would have. This system, let's say something like this system is so complex, getting deeper or getting deeper in it will be a challenge or something of that sort. But whatever kind of deeper or complex or like diving deep into which thing, we're gonna cut into me right here with me like in this like previous shot over here, doing a bunch of complex stuff. And then when I am explaining something, because it is very important to explain stuff, because I am logging my progress, so I need to kind of show you that I understood stuff. Then we can utilize something like where it, something like this, or something like this also, where you see this kind of stuff. That it is animation, it is anime, there is that small way aspect to it, but it is very like design. It is fun. It is fun. It is omoshiroi, as the Japanese will call it, utilizing something like this also, which this looks quite complicated, but it is just like gradient map. Instead of using colors to map them to values, you use shapes. It is not that complicated. I say as I am willing to struggle to achieve that. So you have things like this, and you have shots like this where you have uh, uh, things like the text behind, and it is highlighted. So one that I had, for example, did the first time that I tried to do something like this was me just standing there with me looking like this and having like this shadow over here. This is like a projector's view, and everything looks quite like not panoramic, not fisheye lens, but looks like that. And this is obviously this is a bunch of text. Think of it like some Wikipedia description or something. And what I'm talking about is like highlighted right here, something similar exactly to this reference right here, how you see stuff highlighted. This is obviously the reason why it is like this, because it is like Hatsune Miku's ponytails. And the artist, I forgot what his name was. I will link it in the description if I find it in my bookmarks. But this artist plays around quite a lot with Miko's ponytails. But yeah, that is the kind of idea, and you need to have explanation things like this. It's like how in anime they will cut to something that is very moe. It's either like having some sort of face that looks like this, or the characters turn into like chibi versions of themselves. It's like that Reddit mascot, and they explain stuff that looks like cut out, and they have like that animation that keeps wiggling from side to side and so on. You gotta have those types of shots there, but I don't know first how to implement those, because I still have not wrote the screenplay for them. But since I am just trying to come up with shots, uh, this is just me throwing ideas out there. But still, all of those were just for the visual side of things, because music is still a problem, because I don't know how to actually do it. How do you visualize sound? I mentioned before, I think if I mention it in the previous one, I'm gonna repeat it, but I had this idea of turning stuff that I saw in this thing called the EQ, and whatever kind of software that you use to make music. This EQ shows you what is going on with your music, with your sound. Uh, Hold on a bit. My eyes are burning. I need to wear my glasses, even though I feel like they don't do something, but this placebo effect is doing quite a lot. Anywho, uh, the EQ, it shows all of your instruments and what is going on here. Instruments like the flutes peak quite a lot. The bass is here, the like high noises are here. This is the low ones. Strings is somewhere right here. Hold on, if I can find an actual thing to show you. I think I have like a diagram that shows this stuff better than I could ever describe them as. It's like this chart right here. So stuff that are like the flute, like these, like the woodwinds, even though that they are here in terms of like the octaves and stuff, they are very sharp in their noise, not like the violin or the viola that are very smooth in their noise, and they don't peak quite a lot in terms of like their depth or like the piercing noise that these might create, like the flute right here, this son of a bitch right here. It will pierce your eardrum. That is how high pitch it is. So in terms of the pitch, in terms of how it looks right here, the flute might be hold on, we're gonna work with a little bit of color over here. We're gonna get a bit fancy and bougie with it. So yeah, so we have this color for the flutes, and maybe you go down a bit, you go down a bit, and you will find something like this. That is, let's say, these are the strings, and we'll go down a bit, even more. I am changing also the saturation, because it is exactly why I am making this, because it is not just the hue but also the saturation. The hue right here is just in the accent on top, because it adds in. If you have something that is yellow, it is not just a yellow in terms of the color, but also the value of yellow. It is very bright. Even if you desaturate it, it still will be bright. So that is the kind of thing that I'm working with here. But you have something like this, we can get even more bluish and a bit more desaturated. And the values, as I said yesterday, I think, is the volume, is the opacity, if you will. So this will be, for example, a layer for the synths. And this is a cool thing. This is a cool concept, cool hypothesis, cool view on how you can conceptualize something like that. But how do you actually bring it into fruition, into real life, is something that I still do not know how to think about it. One thing keeps building on another. I sound philosophical. One thing keeps building on another. What I mean by that is some old idea that I had on another video that I wanted to create, animation, short movie, if you will. This one was about me losing my hard drive or having to format my hard drive because I actually accidentally installed a malware on my PC, on my C drive specifically. So when I did that, I felt that I was starting to building from zero. So I was sitting like this on the ground and I was building. This was a couple of boxes and all around me it was pure emptiness. Everything was white. Let's show it a bit better, but only not even my shadow because I was thinking of it of pure white. So even my shadow would not be there unless it is very faint shadow because when you have a shadow you're signifying that there is a main source of light, which there isn't in this case. And a closer look to this one will be something that is pretty stylized, like me with my eyes right here, even bigger. If you want to go the realistic route. And then we have the cube. So something like that. So this is pretty cool because I am talking about my hard drive. So hard drive is not necessarily something that you can feel, something that you can sense, something that you can see. But I'm just as I'm talking right now, it is I just thought of the fact that this is the same as programming. So none of it have to do anything with music, I guess. But it can work. It can work. If I take the theme that I had for black and white, as I said here, where is it? Here we will have the background being like pure white, except for like the accents and the colors here and there being something like this. So this will work, but in contrast, the other one will be black, or it will be quite dark, and that darkness will be pierced by these colors. I think it will be cool, and it will be even cooler if if this music thing exists in contrast with the programming one. So programming one, this is perfect. This is a perfect in terms of like being a perfect uh, edges. This is also perfect, but if we're gonna do it the other way, we're getting even romantic with it, like leaves falling and shit, like a little bit of wind going on. So if you wanna go the opposite way with it, we can go with the natural, the noisy, the randomness of it, if we wanna go that way. But again, it will not work as much as I think it should, because this will be one, it will be very high production, very high value, and this is not something that I can do, especially alone. This one doable, this one beyond fucking impossible. If I'm gonna have all of this being exposed, because this is a cliff, this is grass, trees, effects going on here, so this is too much. But if we make this all black and we make it actually 3D, and I'm kind of bringing you in my head, and we're looking at this and we're trying to like make sense of the instruments. Something, let's say, like this is a problem that I'm still struggling with, but writing music for each instrument. So writing the music sheet for each instrument, each one of those instruments have its own way of playing. A flute cannot play something like the piano with like very short notes or very close to each other, like very quick, because you need to take breath in before you let the breath out to make that noise. The same thing goes with the brass. But how do you actually go on with the go with doing this? I don't know. I don't know. I am confused. Maybe, which is like the problem for music. Maybe we can have something like a cliff, something like emptiness, like this, like a natural thing. But slowly but surely, I start introducing color into it. Maybe this, maybe this will be something that is worthwhile, I guess, is to start with it like being nothing, like this scene right here. Maybe we'll actually use something that is pretty cool. Hold on, let me find the reference. Hold on. It is, hold on, it is something like this. This are like the Moroccan courtyards, traditional ones. This is a bad example because it doesn't have any colors. I need something that have like that very vibrant colors into it. Something like this because I really love this one specifically. I really love this, and I want to introduce something like so. It is something like this. Look at the colors, the greenery, the maybe we'll have like some of the tapestry over here like they used to have in the very olden days, and those will have obviously colors into them, and the colors will be something like the hypothesis theory that I said before. Maybe something like this. So you see like there is the fluent of the water itself, which is something uh, there is the tonal and atonal, I think, which is the tonal is something like the beeps and boops. Atonal is something that is more noisy, like the wind or something of that sort. So maybe it will be something like that with the movement of the branches and the movement of the water itself and some things of that sort. So I think it's gonna work like this if we have it like desaturated, and because these Moroccan jars like this, we call them Jalij. They have a lot of colors in them. They have like shit ton of colors, all of them very saturated and bright. This is a great example. Like this is what I'm talking about because this is what I'm actually familiar with. I think all of those references that I shown were just replicas, but if you look like this, look at all of these colors that are in here. So here is like the example, the flutes and like the drums or like something that is very desaturated, maybe not all the way to black, but something like this for or like this one for the synth and stuff like that. But also, on top of all of this, even if this works, we'll still have a problem of storyboarding, which is something that I don't have a great experience with. Let me tell you, it's either I waste too much time on it, or I am just very bad at it. I am not bad at it in terms of like something which we will do in the next session, in matter of fact, because I really want to do that just to stretch my creative legs. But it is something that is very basic. That is what storyboarding is. It's just you bring a sentence from a sentence to an image. So someone walked through the door is just this. Someone walking through the door. This is a storyboard for a scene. It is not something like this that have a lot of complicated stuff going on. Someone is sitting over here with a cup and someone is sitting over there with like some side chick over here holding her, and he's looking at this other guy that is like he is like a money laundering or like a shark loaner or whatever it is. Some two that are fighting over here, someone is pushing someone over there, and a lot go. Then there is a second stage or second level, and there is a little bit of attention into details for like the architecture. And the more that we keep going, the more that we make it more like a layout than an actual uh, whatever you want to call it, like a storyboard. This is more of a layout than that. It is still a storyboard in terms of like the complexity, But when you keep going and going and going, it starts becoming more than that. So I need first to learn how to stop, which is like how to convey just the main idea. That is the thing that we need. Just the camera over here, this angle, this rotation, looking this specific perspective, having this character, that character in this specific location, in this specific time. The camera might have some motion, might have like a special lens if we use like something like 35 lens for stuff like anime specifically, or maybe we use something that is very like orthographic view, which is like flattening the perspective. Maybe we'll use something else this time, for example, for this special shot and so on. So those types of things that I'm talking about here that are very weird, very hard to deal with, very hard to grasp. And the only thing that I can think of to understand that is just to practice. But first of all, I need to like write the what do you call it, the screenplay, because that will help me get a better idea on what the fuck actually am I doing. But still, it is very important to have some sort of art direction. So if we go with something like that, what I mentioned before, it is still a very there is still a gap in my understanding, because let's say I want to talk about like something that I did today, which is like drum loops. How do you convey that? How do you convey that in like a conceptual way? In like uh, you have something like this. This is like a block, and you strip this down into like whatever, a TMU version of like the statue of David. How do you strip this block over here to this? How do you do this? This is like the pure the pure concept slash feel. How do you do that? There is something that I'm struggling with right now, and even doing this, which is like conceptualizing and talking about it and trying to like, I don't know, find it some way, somewhere, somehow. If I just vocalize this out loud, it still is a huge exclamation point uh, at the moment. But I think I did enough progress right now so far. Uh, but there is still a bit more too, especially with the music one, because it is the one that is the most confusing. And I think most of the sound or most of the work will be done in the sound department, because I'm thinking of something like this, like having drums over here and like different types of drums, and then uh, fade to black, and you only hear the noises that come from here, from there, maybe something like this if it's like a snare or something like that, and you only see this. This is what you see when you're actually watching that, and this will be obviously like those quirky videos with like, it is preferably good to use a headphone for the maximum profit of entertainment when you're watching. So yeah, we talked about some interesting ideas of visualizing stuff, but still, visualizing sound is still something that I need to give quite a lot of thoughts into, and I would keep thinking about this most certainly as I'm taking care of some other business. And yeah, I think I should stop here so I don't make it any more longer. The next one, I think, as I said, will be just storyboarding stuff, just taking a photograph and try to imagine a scene around it of like 5 to 6 shots, maybe. So, yeah, I guess I leave it at this. Thank y'all for hanging around. Thank y'all for listening or watching. And as always, before you leave, uh, if you have any ways or thoughts on how to visualize sound, please leave it below. But yeah, otherwise, have yourselves a damn good one.